Well, hey everybody. Yes, you're not seeing like deja vu or double vision or something like that. We are back to another one of these Singer heavy duty machines, and this particular one belongs to Sridhathri. Sridhathri is a beautiful Indian name, and I'm trying to say it properly. I hope I am based on my research. But Sridhathri bought this Singer Heavy Duty 4423 probably about a little bit less than 6 months ago and ran into a major issue with it breaking down. And the problem with the timing of it breaking down is that she is getting ready right now to leave on a trip to India. Let me come wide on this. She's getting ready right now to leave on a trip to India, and she was in the process of making a bag for her mom. She wanted to show off her sewing skills to her mom as she prepared to leave this weekend to travel to India. In fact, as this premiere is airing, being pre-recorded, she's probably in the air right now traveling to India. It's a very long flight from the Twin Cities area, and she was just bummed out because this machine was a big investment for her. She had not had it very long, and all of a sudden it goes and just stops with the breaking of a needle. And found a number of things on this machine, as I did on the previous machine I presented in one of the most recent live streams. It was a combination of a needle bar issue, hook issue, and just, you know, it's the engineering of the machines as they're made today, with a little bit more of a, if I may, a little bit more of a disposable outlook versus the vintage ones back in the day. They're still built with some very thoughtful engineering and quality, but they're not quite built to the specs and the standards that we've grown accustomed to in our vintage machines. At any rate, long but short, short but long, the machine is back to its spectacular self again. And I think you'll really enjoy seeing this machine and also comparing it to the previous 4411 that you saw. This particular one, the 4423, comes with a much wider array of stitches. And we're going to be exploring a lot of those in this premiere today. You'll have a chance to really enjoy the beauty of these stitches and enjoy some of the added bells and whistles that are on this particular model compared to the last one, which also includes across the board the capacity to feed dog drop. Some of the 4411s have it, some of them don't. And the 4411 that I presented before this one, if you don't know it, they were made in a series of different countries. Some were made in Taiwan, some were made in China, and some were also made in Vietnam. And the intro music that I played for you might give away the origin of this particular model. If not, we'll probe that a little bit more during the live stream, along with a motor upgrade as well on this model. And you'll learn more about these heavy duty machines put out by Singer. Okay? Yes! All right, let's get busy. I'll put on a little bit more of this music for you while I'm getting ready. great. I'm going to cut off that beautiful music real quick, and I'm going to throw a couple of questions out to you straight away as we launch into this premiere, and that is, I'll come on in this shot a little bit. Yeah, right about there I think should be pretty good, at least for this intro part. So the question I have for you is, kind of like the last model that we looked at, the 4411, this being the 4423. So some of the questions about this model: where was it made? What size motor does it have? Can you adjust presser foot pressure on this model? We saw that we could do that on the 4411. And lastly, can you drop the feed dogs on this 4423? Some of the 4411s you can, some of them you cannot, depending on where that machine was built. Again, three primary areas: Taiwan, China, and then also Vietnam. So again, back to the questions on this model. Where was it made? Maybe one of those three countries, right? What size motor does it have? I hinted at that it might have a motor upgrade. And can you drop the feed dogs? And can you adjust presser foot pressure? Also, one last question on this model: does it have or does it not have an auto needle threader? An auto needle threader. Another question to kind of swing out at you with a little bit. I also have another question for all of you as you're watching this. I noticed that our friend Sridhathri has some thread that she got with the machine, along with some needles. You can kind of see them right there, and I can zoom in on them a little bit more. Let's see if I can adjust this camera. It might be a little bit awkward. So in that shot right now, you can see that there are some needles up here, one of which caused the catastrophic damage to the machine. And these were some of those needles that Singer gives you complimentary when you buy their machines off the shelf. I do not recommend using these needles for sewing anyway. You can use them for other things, but I don't recommend using them. The gauge of the steel that they use, the quality of the needles themselves are really, really subgrade compared to needles like Schmetz. And that's why I taped these remaining three needles that Sridhathri has. And I'm going to tell her when I meet her to not use them. And I gave her this complimentary pack of Schmetz 9014 universal needles, one of which is in the machine right now. And we're going to be sewing with that Schmetz universal 9014 needle. I'm going to tell her to use only Schmetz needles on this machine moving forward. Because the needle breakage, for whatever reason, I believe it was because of the quality of the needle. It just couldn't stand up against the bag sewing that Sridhathri was trying to do. And it snapped, and then it caused damage to the hook. It caused a jolt up the needle bar as well, and knocked that out of timing as well. Just a whole avalanche of things happened with that very, very abrupt breaking of the needle. And I don't believe that that would have happened with a Schmetz needle. But the other things I can say along the user error standpoint is a lot of people are in the bad habit, as they're running material over the feed dogs and underneath the presser foot, of getting anxious and either pulling or pushing that material underneath the feed dogs. Don't do that. The feed dogs and the presser foot, if they're adjusted properly, which they are on this machine for the current sewing, you shouldn't need to pull or push the material. Let the feed dogs move it and just guide it gently. If you pull or push, you're going to cause that needle, even a Schmetz needle, you're going to cause that needle to flux and to flex. And the result is going to be it's going to go outside of its normal boundary for that throat plate. It's going to strike either the throat plate, or it's going to skim past there, and then it's going to hit the hook system as that hook system is coming around trying to meet that thread. So as you're sewing different types of materials, remember you have a presser foot adjustment on the 4411 that I showed previously, and also on this 4423. If you've got thicker material like sewing a bag, then increase it. And that means turning this control, I'll show you in the shot. Turning this control right here on top of the needle bar area. If you're sewing something much thicker, you're going to turn this in small increments clockwise. If you're sewing something more delicate like satin or silk or some types of nylon, you'll want to decrease this by turning it counterclockwise. This feed dog adjuster for the presser foot bar is going to make a huge difference in giving you better feed and giving you better quality of stitch. So use this, adjust it as needed, up or down, depending on the type of material sewing or the number of layers you're working with. I'm going to bump it up a little bit for our friend Sridhathri, so that when she's finishing off this bag for her mom before she jumps on the plane to head towards India, she's going to be in a very good position to get through those thicker layers and those seams without being tempted to pull or to push that material and potentially break the needle, even though it's a Schmetz needle. I mean, even Schmetz needles can be broken, right? All of you have done it, I'm sure. Breaking a needle is not a big deal by itself, but the damage resulting to the hook, to the throat plate opening, and potentially even to the needle bar can be catastrophic, as it was for our friend from India. Okay? So let's get into this machine a little bit, and I will answer some questions for you real quick that I just posed that hopefully some of you took a swing at and threw into the live chat on this premiere. And I'll come into the shot to do that. And hopefully I don't forget what the questions are. Otherwise, some of you out there can bail me out if I forget the questions. So the questions I asked you about this particular model, the 4423, is, where was it made? The intro music, if you didn't recognize it, I'm going to shut that light off, I feel like I'm getting bleached. The intro music, if you didn't recognize it, is from the beautiful country of Vietnam. And that's where this model, that's where this model 4423 that Sridhathri bought and was using on that project for her mom, that's where this machine was made, was in Vietnam. And on the back side of the machine, they ended up using the same case or the same plastic cover around the frame that they did on the 4411. So the information is actually wrong on the back of this 4423. It says that it's a 0.7 amp machine, but when I serviced this machine in depth, I found out that this machine actually comes with a 0.9 amp motor. So if you happen to own one of these upgraded heavy-duty machines by Singer, this 4423, or maybe one of the later models that were also made in Vietnam, you need to know that on the back of your machine it's going to say 0.7. That's not correct. It's actually 0.9. So you've got a really, really powerful motor, almost a full amp, in this 4423 that we're going to be putting to work today to sew a variety of different sew-offs. And we're still not going to go to the maximum of what this machine can do. That's never the goal of a live stream or a premiere. It's to present the greatness of the machine and to show the stitch quality and also the versatility of the machine as well. And this machine has a lot of versatility. It can sew all kinds of stitches that we're going to explore today. Okay? So we've got a machine that was made in Vietnam. We've got a machine that, although the case on the back nomenclature plate says 0.7, it's actually 0.9. We can drop the feed dogs on this model, and we can also adjust the presser foot pressure. And last but not least, if you like auto needle threaders, this is the model for you. You can thread the needle automatically with a easy pull down auto needle threader on this particular model. And so all kinds of fun features all kinds of bells and whistles that you can enjoy on this model that we didn't have on the last model that we saw, the 4411. So with that, let's get into this machine, okay? Let me zoom in. Oh, I got to mention one other thing before I do that. Again, this was pre-recorded, and it was pre-recorded on Wednesday. And on this day in history, on Wednesday, Susie and I had the distinct privilege of meeting someone that joins us quite often in the live streams and the premieres. If I say the name Robin, you know who I'm talking about. Robin from Minnesota, right? So Robin from Minnesota won recently. I offered some of those spray bottles. You've seen me use them. Matter of fact, I can reach over the top and get my mitts on one that I use all the time. This one right here. And I use this as an essential oil bottle, but I use a mixture of kerosene and crystal white sewing machine oil when I'm servicing the machines to get into those tight spaces that I can't even get in there with, let me show you. You'll see me use this in the videos quite often. I'll use one of these needles that, I mean, these are, you can get into the tightest spaces, but they don't go around the corners, you know what I mean? With that little needle point. And so if I want to get and mist around those corners, what I do is in that general space that I want to lubricate, I use the essential oil spritz bottle, and then I use my air compressor at the same time. So I get that air compressor blowing air across through the machine, and then I spritz this oil, and it goes and gets in every nook and cranny. And that way you don't miss any of those essential pivot points on machines like this 4423, because a lot of these areas are really difficult to get to. They don't make these maintenance friendly, and trying to get into those tight spaces that still need to be lubricated, it's wonderful to have an essential oil bottle like this that creates such a fine mist, and then you can push that mist in deep into the machine to hit all of those points that otherwise would be nearly impossible to get to. So we met Robin to give her two of these bottles, one for oil and one for water, to reduce that static factor as she's working with some of her many machines in the Minnesota area. I got some oil in my hand. And when we met her, I also gave her a spring as well that I'm hoping she'll be able to adapt to repair a machine that she's been trying to work on and having a lot of difficulty finding the parts for that machine. I'm gonna shut that light off temporarily. Now I'm totally dark. Well, that didn't work. These LED lights are so glaring, I don't know if you can even see me or not. Now that I looked up at the light when I turned it on, I can't even see what's happening on the camera. It's like, I think you're in there. So anyway, we met Robin, Susie and I, over at a location that I meet a lot of the Minnesota customers at, and gave her the two essential oil bottles, one for water, one for oil, etc. Or maybe she'll even use it with Levi if it gets really hot outside, with one of those essential oil bottles filled with some really cool water, and they go for a walk in the heat of summer. Robin now can take that and spritz Levi, her beloved puppy, and cool him off a little bit after a hot walk as well. But Robin surprised me by reaching into her car as I gave her the two essential oil bottles and the little spring, and she presented me with this. And yes, I'll share it with Susie too, of course. She gave me this fun little Walmart bag, and inside of here, some yummy bread that looks like it's absolutely homemade. Oh, wow. Wow. I'm gonna bite through the plastic right now and get some of this. So she gave some of this wonderful homemade bread, and then she also gave these yummy, and I'll have, if Robin's in the live chat, I'll have her tell us exactly what these are. See if I can get to one of them. It looks like a combination of maybe a saltine cracker, some chocolate, and some caramel, possibly. But I gotta try, I gotta try it right now. I gotta try it right now. Oh, wow. Wow. Most of you know Candido and Rachel out of New York sent Susie and I some special treat bags with Ghirardelli chocolate. Rachel and Candido, you're number one in my book. You know that. But I'm telling you one thing, watch out for Robin. She's got something going on here. These are really, really good. If you can see those, the way they're made. Well, fine. Yeah, what you want? All right, give me a second. I gotta finish this off. Holy mackerel. Very, very good, Robin. Thank you. Thank you so much. Those are delicious. I have to get out more and do more walking. And Susie and I kind of cover some territory in the Minnesota area to burn all this stuff off, right? Try to burn it off. A lot of calories in that, but it's well worth it. All right. Let's zoom in on this 4423. Oh, I did want to ask you all something else real quick. Eventually I will sew with this machine, I promise. So the other question I had for all of you real quick, I started to talk about it, then I got distracted. I never finished. Is I talked about these crummy needles that are, in my opinion, subpar. These needles right here, I'll get real close to the camera so you can see them. And then you can see the remaining components of some of the hook assembly right there, and also the busted needle that was underneath the bobbin case in Sridhathri's sewing machine. But I also wanted to talk real quick about this this Sewology thread that was also with Sridhathri's sewing machine. And I don't know if, I don't think that this came from Singer. I'm pretty 99% sure this Sewology thread did not come from Singer. It looks like they're branding it as something that is European made. And for my research, this Sewology thread, it's 100% polyester, is offered almost exclusively through Hobby Lobby. And I've seen some real mixed reviews. I've seen some real mixed reviews on the quality of this thread. Some people say it's garbage. Some people say it's better than Coates & Clark. And some people just don't know. So if you've had any experience with this Sewology thread that apparently Hobby Lobby markets almost exclusively, from some of the reading I did online, Hobby Lobby originally carried Coates & Clark, and then they discontinued Coates & Clark, and they started exclusively carrying this Sewology thread. I don't know if you can see that in the shot, the Sewology thread. So if you've had any experience with this, type it in the live chat. I'd like to know what your experience has been, good, bad, or ugly. What your opinion is on this thread. And for this premiere today, I'm not going to be using this thread because I didn't know if the quality of this Sewology thread, which I've never used before, contributed to the catastrophic failure that Sridhathri experienced with this 4423. So I didn't want to potentially cause damage to her machine again. So I'm also going to be giving Sridhathri's machine a nearly full spool of Coates & Clark thread that's on the machine right now. You also just saw me wind another bobbin as well with Coates & Clark thread, the dual duty XP thread. And then I'm also, as I already showed you, I'm going to be giving Sridhathri a complimentary pack -1 needle of the Coates & Clark, of the Schmetz Universal 9014 needles as well, to really get her set up for success, especially as she's going to be under a tight timeline to finish this bag that she wants to give to Mom in India when she visits. Actually, during this premiere, she's probably in the air heading towards India right now to meet Mom to show her the bag that she finished. As a result of me kind of sneaking her in the front of the line and getting this machine done post haste. So yeah, I'll be interested if there's any insights or opinions on, the Sewology thread, say, versus Coates and Clark. What your experience has been between these two brands. All right, so let's get into this a little bit. See if I can zoom in on the machine a little bit closer. And we're going to be putting this Singer 4423 to work. Put it to work. Oh, I should also, most of you know this, when you buy a new Singer machine, you get some of these other little doodads, some of which used to be made out of metal, now they're made out of plastic. So this little goodie bag, I'll make sure that Sridhathri gets it back and has the benefit of whatever Singer gave her with this machine. And it was kind of interesting when Sridhathri reached out initially. I wasn't trying to get rid of the possibility of business or the opportunity of taking care of this machine. But I said to her, I said, where did you buy the machine? Did you buy it at Joann's or did you buy it, somewhere else? And she said, I bought it through Amazon, the Singer Amazon store. Apparently, I don't do Amazon, all of you know that, but apparently there's a Singer Amazon store. And that's where Sri Dhathri bought this 4423. And so I said to her, I said, well, why don't you contact Amazon and tell them that that you've talked to an expert, and that based on what you described, that there could have been a catastrophic failure of the machine and that it's now not functional. You've had it less than 6 months, and would Amazon honor some sort of a direct return? Well, she contacted Amazon. Amazon said, we can't help you. And then she tried contacting Singer by way of Amazon and could not get through. No one would answer her call, or if she eventually was able to leave a message, she never got a response. So they basically ghosted her. So all I can say is that if Amazon or Singer happens to catch this video premiere, or if someone wants to share it with those folks, all I can say is, come on, folks, honor your customers after the sale. And if it was somehow a technology glitch or whatever, and that's why you didn't return the call or answer the call from Sridhathri, then fix it. Fix it, because people want to know that you're going to honor that transaction, that sale, after it's done, not just get the money and run. You know what I mean? And right now, Joann's, I saw this on their site. Right now, if you buy a machine from Joann's, they got your back for the lifetime of the machine. And I'm not sure exactly what that guarantee or what that fulfillment would look like, but their message is clear. If you buy a machine from Joann's, they're going to take care of you for the time that you have that machine. It's on their website. I saw that. If someone else wants to fact check it and dig a little bit deeper and find out what kind of guarantee or what kind of a return guarantee that is on a machine you buy from them, go ahead and do that. And if you could post it in the live chat, that would be super. But you know what? We gotta be careful where we buy our machines, don't we? Some people will just grab the money and run. Others will continue to service you as a valued customer long after they get your money. And that's the kind of person you want to do business with, right? Absolutely. That's why with all of my machines, if I prepare a machine for a customer, I give them a limited lifetime warranty. If they don't throw it through a plate glass window, if they don't let their dog chew on it or a grandkid beat it with a hammer or something like that, I'm going to take care of that customer for the lifetime that they have that machine. And that's the way people should do business, right? All right. I could blah, blah, blah all day long. Y'all know that. So a quick little walk around this machine. I'll come a little bit closer in and we'll just do a quick little walk around this 4423. I'll just point some things out. I think you can see that in the shot for the most part. You saw that during the opening of this that I wound a bobbin because we're going to be doing a lot of decorative ornamental sewing, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough thread available on a bobbin ready to go, so I wound it at the beginning of this. And winding a bobbin on this machine is real simple. You get an auxiliary spool pin like this, and you simply put it right on top of the machine right there. You can see where I'm sticking it right there. And then you run the thread from here clockwise around this tensioner right here. You can't even see that. Hold on. You run it around this tensioner right there. So you go clockwise around it like this. So those threads are going to be crisscrossing from the spool to the bobbin over here. Over here. Haha. I have no camera operator, so I'm doing the whole thing. And then you put your bobbin on here. As soon as you slide this over, just like on the 4411, it's going to automatically disengage the clutch so that the needle will not move. And then you can adjust this little plastic piece right here in or out depending on how full you want to fill that bobbin. So don't if you get it from the factory and they've got this thing set way out and you're only getting about that much on your bobbins, it's as simple as putting a Phillips screwdriver in there and gently loosening that screw and then just rotating it in or out to your preference on how full you want that bobbin, or how full you want that that bobbin. Okay, how full you want that bobbin, and then you'll get a properly filled bobbin to put into your machine. And just like on the 4411, when you're putting that bobbin, when you're dropping that bobbin into the raceway over here, you're going to have that thread coming over the top, so that as that bobbin is turning in the raceway area in that bobbin case, it's going to be turning counterclockwise as you're looking at it. So make sure you remember that. If you don't remember it, they've got a diagram right here, like I showed you on the 4411, to remind you of that. And I got a couple comments after I presented the 4411. A lot of people loved it. I think we had about, within the first couple of hours of that live stream, we had about 1,200 people that had already viewed the live stream, which is amazing for a niche category like sewing machines, sewing, etc. But one of the things that somebody said is, let's be a little bit fair to Singer here. Like you said in the live stream, the metal cage or the metal frame that they're boasting about to try to convince people of the quality of the machine is not necessarily going to be a subgrade metal. It's just going to be maybe a non-ferrous metal, which is why when you put a magnet against the machine, you don't get any response. I agree. They can use another type of metal that's non-ferrous that's still going to be a real sturdy frame, a real sturdy cage to support the framework of this Singer Heavy Duty 4423. But at the same time, I also want to emphasize that the interior cage around the plastic outer casing doesn't necessarily mean that it's quality as far as the engineering of the machine. That's simply the support structure inside to try to give it a little bit more stability, to try to reduce the vibration, etc., give it a little bit more substance. But ultimately, there's a lot of other engineering that falls into this. And as I went through this machine thoroughly, some of the stuff that originally was metal on the vintage machines has now become plastic. No, that's not really a news flash. Most of us figured that out. But that's why they can afford to sell a machine like this for around $400 or $500. Whereas if they went back to the original engineering standards of metal throughout, forged steel, you'd be looking at a machine like this that would be around $3,000 or $4,000. So you make concessions, you still produce a product that you can have some assurity that it's going to perform well and hopefully perform for a reasonable amount of time, not fail like this one did, less than 6 months. But you have to make those transgressions so you can afford to make a profit, make a margin to have a mission to build these machines, right? And then I also wanted to clarify that this right here is stainless steel. I'm not sure about the ferrous qualities of all types of stainless steel, but we're definitely not getting a ferrous response from this stainless steel cover, whatever it is that Singer has put on here to make the material slide and move more freely over the harp space area. And that's the other thing I want to take Singer to task with real quick. I know that a number of Singer officials and Singer corporate people follow us on YouTube and on Facebook. because we also, when we post, we always point attention to them as well to help promote that product, the Singer product. But I have an issue with you Singer people all of a sudden referring to this space right here, and particularly from the needle to, and you didn't even call it a pillar. Come on, Singer, you know that this is the pillar of the machine right here. You call this the C space? What does that mean? Why in heaven's name is Singer Corporate referring to this as the C space? What does C stand for? I don't know. I have no idea. If anybody has insight into that, type it in the live chat. Why is Singer calling this the C space? It's the harp space. Just like the people that are out there right now referring to this as the nose plate? Really? What is that? The nose of the machine? I don't, where's the face? Where are the eyes? Where are the lips? Where's the lips of the machine if you're going to call this a nose plate? This is the face plate because it's the prominent location where on the traditional vintage machines they had that ornamental face cover, the eye candy that everyone loved to look at. It was the face of the machine, just like this is my face. It's the prominent thing that you think of right away when you think of this channel. When you look at Facebook, you're looking for this face because it's the face of cow country, right? This is the face of the sewing machine. It's not a nose plate. And this is not a C space. This is the harp space. The harp space, again, for you newies out there, you new folks, the harp space is the sewing turn space to be able to move material through the machine and rotate it. It's from the needle to the pillar, from the bed of the machine to the bottom of the arm, and then finally from the front of the machine to the rear of the machine. Those are the measurements of what make up the harp space. Okay? All right, I'm done with my little mini rant. But Singer, stop calling this a C space. All of you out there, stop calling this the nose plate. It's the face plate, right? Come on. Anyone who wants to get sassy in this premiere and say, well, no, it's the nose plate. No, that's the C space. You might get a timeout. I'm just letting you know. You might get a timeout. Yeah. All right. So let's zoom in on this 4423 that belongs to Sridhathri. Sridhathri. Beautiful name. And I think I did it on the other machine. I'll just walk you around a little bit. Let me grab this camera off. See if I can do this without disconnecting or knocking anything over. All right. So we're looking at this, the front of this 4423. I covered this on the 4411. It's going to be pretty much the same. This is going to be our stitch pattern selector. Also, it's got a default right here where you can select a buttonhole. You know, I say doing buttonholes is for those people that have nothing better to do with their time. You know, you could cut the grass, you could wash the car, you could take the dog for a walk. But if you don't have a dog and you like a dirty car and you don't want to do any of that other stuff, then make a buttonhole. Have at it. More power to you. All right. So we also have this here. This is the stitch length selector. It's also got a buttonhole default as well, you can see. And then it's also our special stitch selector as well. It's marked S1. And the S1 is going to give us access to any of these stitches on this wheel right here. You can see that are marked in blue. So if we want to access any of those stitches, we're going to have to turn our stitch length selector to the S1, and then it's going to override any stitch length setting based on the needs of that pattern that are on these blue areas right there. You can kind of see that. And as you look at those stitches, those are the stitches we're going to be sewing in this premiere today. I'm going to try to get through almost all of them, if not all of them, and you'll really be amazed at the choices and the options on this 4423. It's really quite spectacular. Okay, I'll show you on the side of the machine. Here we have a fine adjuster for buttonholes. Also on some of the swing stitches, you may be able to get an outcome in adjusting those as well through this control. On-off switch that turns that LED light on. And they really brag about this light. They say, oh my gosh, it's so bright you could land an airplane. That's not in the official packet of Singer, but you know, they're pretty doggone proud of this LED. I think they could still improve it a little bit more because it does a decent job of lighting the needle area, but it doesn't do much for this area over here. And you want to have a full bed lit up, in my opinion, without a lot of auxiliary lights. So keep working on that, Singer, as you confess your sins for calling this a C space and calling this a nose plate. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you people. But at any rate, okay, so that's our stitch length. We got our stitch width just like on the 4411 right up there. That's our stitch width. We have it on 0. We're going to get a straight stitch. We move it between 1 and 6. We're going to have a really, really wide stitch, zigzag or otherwise. Middle, we have needle position just like on the 4411. Over here, we have upper tension. And you can see right now, I've got it cranked up a little bit, don't I? Our max is 9. I've got it cranked up a little bit just to give me a little bit of edge on those lock stitches. And then over here, we've got our presser foot pressure, which I've already talked about a little bit. And our reverse button is right there. I believe on the 4411, if I remember correctly. No, I think it's in the same spot. Yeah, it's in the same spot. So they kept a lot of things the same. And then, like I said at the intro, you see that little white thing hanging down right there? That one right there, I think. Yeah, that's our auto needle threader. I don't use them, ever. But if you like auto needle threaders, then you'll want to get a 4423, not a 4411. And, yeah. And again, one of my criticisms of this model is that if you want to make adjustments to the bobbin case, as far as the amount of pull down that it has, you've got to take this entire plate off, which means removing these 2 screws. That if you don't have the proper tool, they can be a little bit of a booger to get out. And the other thing I'll tell you, if you decide to try to adjust the bobbin tension on this 4423 or really any of the Singer heavy duty models, they literally have like a clay material plugged in the area where the adjusting screw is, as if to say, leave it alone. We set it right. Don't mess with it. So I literally, I mean, this is like a hardened material. I had to literally chip away at this stuff. I have pictures of it on my phone. Let's see if I can pull them up real quick. I have pictures of it on my phone trying to chip this stuff out so that I can adjust the screw on the bobbin case once I removed it from the machine. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Where is it? Somewhere in here. Yeah, that's where see that needle right there? That's where I found the other portion of the needle was actually underneath the bobbin case in the Raceway when I tore apart Sridhathri's sewing machine. There you can see the remaining part of that needle that made its way all the way underneath there. That's a video. Oh, there. Wait. I just had it. Don't do that. You see that yellow stuff? It's literally like a hardened putty that they jammed in that space. That's our set screw over there. That's our set screw that holds that tension band in place. This is our adjusting screw, and they basically covered it with this hardened putty so that if a person was going to try to adjust it, they wouldn't be able to do it unless they broke this stuff out of there, which is what I literally had to do. And then I was able to get this nice and cleaned up right there. You can kind of see that, so that I was able to adjust that screw so I would have a little bit more latitude. Because before I adjusted this screw down about 2 turns, I had to have the upper tension turned up almost to 9 to try to get even a decent balance at all. So, and you can see some of the inside portions of this 4423. These are kind of a plastic Teflon gear that are near the bottom, just below the Raceway area. Closer shot of them. They had a real nasty, crudded up grease on them, so I took all that off and I put some of the fresh grease on there. You can see that stuff. It's just disgusting. There's some of the metal pieces that I pulled out of the Raceway that had broken off. That's actually a part of the outside hook system. That's actually a part of the outside hook system right there, just adjacent to the needle. You can see this little chunk of metal. Yeah, getting into the bottom of the machine. And I'm just trying to show you all, when I service a newer machine, I treat it the same as a vintage. I tear it all the way down and get deep into that machine. And that right there is the motor that I was talking about. The outside of the casing shows 0.7 amps, but when you look at the motor, I actually zoomed in on it and took a picture. When you look at the inside of the motor, right there, you can see it was made in Vietnam, and it's rated at 0.9 amps. With 8,800 RPMs, 90 watts, it's a beast of a motor. It's a beast of a motor that's in this 4423. It's got a lot of power. Some more of that junk, cleaning it off. There it is, yuck. Adjustments there, using a special Allen wrench, proper lubrication, using the, green grease that I had prepared for Candido and Rachel. Yeah, proper lubrication. These machines are built so they're very difficult to service. I don't know who that weirdo is. He snuck into the workshop. Someone should call security right now. Call security. Yeah, proper servicing of the motor as well. Oh, right here, you may not be able to see it, but when that needle hit the throat plate, see that little scar right about there? That scar was going to catch the thread, so I had to very carefully, using a brass Dremel bit, clean that off and make it free of any snags again. See how nice that is? You wouldn't get that at a sew and vac, obviously. Oops. Proper lubrication throughout. There's a video. Oh, there's some of the stitches. Aren't those? You're going to see those in just a little bit. Gorgeous stitching from this 4423. Yeah. All right. Oh, wow. Okay, I'll do a little bit of self-promotion. So on Facebook, and you're on YouTube right now, so if you don't do Facebook, you're going to be like, we don't care. But if you do Facebook, Cow Country just got a special distinction. Apparently it's less than 5% of people on Facebook get this distinction. It's called a Rising Creator. And it says, way to go, Cow Country, vintage sewing machines and restoration. Boy, that's really long. You've earned a Rising Creator label multiple weeks in a row. What's a Rising Creator label? The label recognizes you for posting content that's original, receives strong audience engagement, and meets quality, blah, blah, blah. I think there's more beyond that. Yeah, so you get a special badge on Facebook, and everyone goes, ooh, that's really cool. What does that mean? And I say, I don't know. But at any rate, yeah, cool stuff. Okay, let me put camera back on the tripod, and let's get into this machine. Let's get busy. Let's get busy. All right, zoom over here. We'll do a shot like right about there. That way you can see me making some of the changes. And then when I'm showing the sew-offs, I'll zoom in a little bit closer, if that sounds fair enough. Okay, let's lock it in right about there. Yes, Singer, I hear you. Get our badge mark in there, so everyone knows it's a Singer heavy-duty machine. Hey, all right. Go team, hey. All right. Turn my little screen around. All right, so why don't we launch into some of this, and we'll give a chance to showcase this 4423 that is going to be finishing, actually by now, because this was pre-recorded, by now we'll have already finished a project for Sridhathri, and she is on a plane heading to India right now to present this really cool bag to her mom as something that she created. So I think that's really neat. Super neat when you can present something to a family member. I'll come just a little bit closer. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty good. I know we can't see Singer. They know it's a Singer. They can see the big S in the field of red. It doesn't mean Subaru, that's for sure. I'm not sewing with a Subaru. I wonder, did Subaru ever make any sewing machines? I know Toyota did. So if anyone knows and wants to research real quick for fun as to whether or not Subaru ever made sewing machines, a lot of car makers did, go ahead and do that. That'd be kind of cool. But right now I'm going to sew a straight stitch. We'll go into a zigzag. We'll do all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah, all right. And I might even put on some more Vietnamese music softly. Turn it way down. All right. Sridhathri's Heavy Duty Singer 4423. Here we go. Straight stitching, and we'll move from there. Oh, I got to adjust the upper tension down a little bit. All right, I'm going to redo this one. I did adjust the bobbin case down, and it made us too light on the top stitch now. I thought I might have turned it too far, but oh well. All right. All right, take two. Go down to about 5.5. Hopefully that'll do it. All right, take two. All right, now we're going to move into a zigzag, and I don't know if you can see all the controls or not. I think you can see most of them. Let me come out just a little bit. That's probably a little bit too far. All right, so now we're going to move into a zigzag. Here's our stitch width adjuster up here. I'm going to go and rotate that all the way over to 6. And again, whenever you go super wide, the wider those stitch points are with no support, just think of it like a bridge, where you've got a needle going through here, and then you've got a really wide stitch, and then you've got another needle point going through over here. That space in the middle is not supported by anything other than tension. So when we're going to go super wide on a zigzag, we might have to adjust our tension back up, anticipating that we're going to need that extra support. So I was down around 6, and we got a pretty good outcome on the straight stitch. Now I'm going to go up to about 6.5, almost up to 7, anticipating this zigzag. So hopefully we've got a nice snug lock stitch on the bottom. I'm going to go up even a little bit higher, just below 7, right about there. Hopefully that does it. Our stitch length's already on 4. Now I need to take my stitch selector, and I need to turn it counterclockwise to zigzag. And again, we're set within the normal stitch length range right now. We're going to get the first stitch that's in black, not the blue one, unless we go to the S1. I talked about the S1 before. So just take that into account when you're looking for that right stitch, that you need to make sure where your stitch length control is set at, right? All right, let's do a zigzag now. We're just keep buzzing through these stitches, and then we'll look at all the stitches at the same time, okay? All right, so now we're going to lay down a zigzag. I'm going to check my settings, Everything looks good to go. I bumped up my upper tension just a little bit, anticipating that added support that's needed because of the span between the different needle points. So let's check this wide zigzag out now. And when I was talking to Robin via text about the recent live stream on the 4411, she said that's why one of the machines I have in my vintage collection is a newer machine, because it gives you a little bit wider zigzag than the vintage ones can put out that are able to generate a zigzag. All right, so let's check this out. Let's check this mega zigzag out and see what we think. All right, here we go. Oh, good. I did okay on the tension adjustment. I was hoping I did. It was kind of a guess. Kind of a guess. But if you get one of these 4423s or 4411s and you're not able to get the adjustment that you want by adjusting the upper tension, then you're going to have to dig that mustard putty stuff out that Singer's stuck in there in order to adjust that bobbin case. Just get ready for it. Roll your sleeves up and get ready to do battle with adjusting that bobbin case. Okay, so we got our material set up. I'm going to go ahead and adjust to our next stitch right over here, which looks like it's going to be a 3-point zigzag. And our stitch length right up here for a 3-point zigzag, I'm going to be shortening that up quite a bit to give it a nicer clarity and pattern definition. So I'm going to bring it almost down to 1, right about 1.5. I'm also going to take my stitch width, almost there we go. I'm going to take my stitch width, I'm going to take it from 6, where we were at just a moment ago, all the way down to about 3, right around 4. I'll take it down to about between 3 and 4 on the stitch width. And I do that because I have a certain look on that 3-point zigzag that I like, and I want to aim for that when I stitch it. All right, so let's try this out. We've done a straight stitch as a zigzag, and now we're going to be trying a 3-point zigzag. And I'm going to back off my upper tension just a little bit. No, I'm not. I'll leave it the way it is. We'll see how we do. 3-point zigzag. Here we go. So that's our 3-point zigzag. Yeah, really quite nice. Might just bump this up just a hair. And now we're going to move from a 3-point zigzag to one of the blind hem stitch options. At least I think it's a blind hem. Okay, so change that stitch selector, and then we'll decide if we're going to make any tweaks to the stitch width or stitch length. We'll come out here just a little bit. So let's see, we're doing a blind hem style stitch. I'm going to leave the stitch length pretty short. I'm going to come up to about 2 on the stitch length. Stitch width, I'm going to go a little bit wider, around 4.5. And we'll give this blind hem stitch a try. Right about there, I think is pretty good. And again, we're going to take a close look at these in just a little bit. So let's do this blind hem style stitch right now. Again, our settings right now are, we're right around on 2 on stitch length, and we're at about 4.5 on stitch width. There we go, now we're at 4.5. We were like at 4 3/4. All right, here we go. Okay. Yeah, really quite lovely. Quite lovely. You'll have fun looking at these in just a little bit. We're going to buzz through quite a long line of these stitches. We're kind of doing the utility stitches right now, and then we're going to change this stitch length dial from the primary to the S1 range, and then access some of those super cool stitches as well. All right, presser foot is down. There we go. So now our next stitch, I'm going to see what else we have that's kind of interesting in the utility range over here. I'll kind of zoom in on it a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm looking at. There. I'm trying to do this reaching over the back of my head, so if it's really awkward, there you go. So, not too excited about that one, so I'm going to go past that one, but this one is kind of cool. I'm going to do this one. It's kind of a ribbon stitch. You may be able to see that if I move my finger. There's kind of a ribbon stitch right there in the black range at the top at the 12 o'clock position. And to do this one, we're going to kind of tighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to take our stitch length off camera, bring it almost down to the lowest setting to 1. And give it a little bit more room to do its thing, but I'm going to probably stay in the 4.5 setting as far as stitch width. So on the stitch width right now, we are set at 4.5 at the, oh, that was too far. Yeah, stitch width, we're set at 4.5. There we go. Stitch width, we're at 4.5, and stitch length, we're set all the way down at 1. So we're going to try this next stitch. I call it kind of a ribbon stitch. You might have a different name for it. And if it's a cooler name than ribbon stitch, we'll start calling it that. So don't be shy, type it into the live chat what you want to call this stitch once you have a chance to see it, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so here's our ribbon stitch as it stands. Here we go. Alright, I'll bring that around a little bit. You may not be able to see it in the shot, but I think it's a super cool stitch. You can kind of catch a glimpse of it right there. That's the one we just did. So if you have another name for that, as we go through and look at these a little bit closer, by all means push your name forward. And if the audience says, yeah, that's a cooler name than ribbon stitch, we'll start calling it that. Yes, we will. What else do we have? I think the next one we have is kind of a building block one. We'll do the building block one. And then we have an eyebrow one, I think, or a mustache one or something like that. Maybe we'll give that a go too. Just have to make sure on some of these that they're not too wide. Otherwise, I'm going to end up stitching over the other stitching. Might want to adjust that over just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, this is kind of a building block one. I'll leave it kind of the way that it is right now. Right around 4.5 on the width. We've got the length all the way down to 1. It's about as low as we can go. So we'll do this next one now. Let me check my shot. Yeah, that's a pretty good shot. We'll do our next one now, and we'll do this, what would I call it? Building block, and then we'll do the mustache one after that, maybe. Yeah, okay, here we go. Hoping I didn't sew over that other stitch. I was really close. I almost did. But I kind of snuck it in there a little bit. That's kind of a cool one. Could even make it a little bit more narrow. But it gives us an idea. And that's the thing about these decorative ornamental type stitches is everyone's going to have a different preference on how they look, how they present. Someone will want it a little bit wider. Someone will want it a little bit longer. And you can make it your own, can't you? So far, this is what we've done. I'll just give you a quick little glimpse of it. Really some lovely stitching, don't you think? 4423 does a brilliant job. And we also have some really good tension balance right now as well. We'll turn it around. We'll look at the lock stitching. We're getting some good definition on lock stitching as well. Really quite lovely. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's keep rolling. So I think we'll do the mustache stitch now, or the eyebrow stitch, or whatever it is. Got that in place. We'll turn our stitch selector over here. Yeah, I think that's kind of a eyebrow stitch, maybe. We'll see what you think. We'll leave this here, right about there. We'll leave that right about there. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Let's do this next stitch, and then we'll see if we're going to move maybe into the blue range after that, the special stitches. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's kind of an eyebrow stitch, I guess. I'll show it to you. Actually, I'll show it to you after the next one. I'm going to put on a little bit more of our music. Again, this machine was built in Vietnam. The motor was built in Vietnam. And when I did a YouTube search for music that would be appropriate for Vietnam, the Vietnam culture, this came up. So if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And if I can't play it, then you won't hear it anyway, so. Yeah, that's a cool one. I like that. It's really nice. That's kind of a cool one. We'll do this one. We'll do the mountain stitch, and then we'll move into the blue ones after that. We'll try this one next. Make this one a little bit wider. Same tightness as far as length. All right, let's give this a go. Oh, that's cool. I like that one. I'm glad we did that one. Beautiful page 34 stitching. There's our lock stitching on the back. Beautiful stitching. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, so let's go to the mountain stitch now. I'm going to leave the settings about the same. We're right on 5 on the width, and we're 1 on the length. All right, here we go. This is the mountain stitch now, and I think this goes a little bit wider. Let me give us a little bit more space so I don't sew over this beautiful EKG type stitch, because we are set on 5 on the width, and I don't want it to swing too far over, hopefully. All right, let's give it a go. Here we go. We're going to stop right there. Yeah, very, very nice. You can see that in the shot at all from a distance, I know. We'll look at it closer up. Now I'm going to move over to the really cool blue S1 specialty stitches on this model 4423 that is owned by Sridhathri, a lovely young girl that is, as we speak, is either en route or already in the beautiful country of India to meet her mother and family, and is excited to be able to present the bag that she made on this 4423 as a result of me being able to repair it after a catastrophic failure of it. So I'm really privileged. I feel honored that I was able to be a part of that and get it back into commission. So right now, if you look at the stitch style, you can see on the left we've got a black stitch, we've got a blue stitch. In order to access the blue ones, we have to take our stitch length up here and rotate it around. I probably went the wrong way. I did. Rotate it around so the S1 on the stitch length is at the 12 o'clock position. As soon as we do that, it's going to override any preference as far as stitch length. It's going to right away control that through the machine cam system. But we do have discretion on the stitch width. The thing I'll tell you though on stitch width, when you're sewing a lot of these specialty stitches that are in the S1 series, they require the tri-motion function where you're not only getting needle swing, but you're also getting the feed dogs working abruptly back and forth to manipulate the material movement and generate even a more spectacular stitch. In order to do that, that tri-motion function needs space. So I always recommend if you're going to sew a stitch that's tri-motion related, you want to go to the widest setting on stitch width so that it has the ability to move that material without limitations. Okay? Let me see here. Go a little bit closer in. See if I can pivot the camera just slightly. There we go. I want you to be able to see what's happening at the needle at the same time. Maybe you're like right about there is good. Okay, so now we're going to move into some of these tri-motion specialty stitches. See if we can do that. All right, and some of these are really quite wide, so I need to take that into account as I'm spacing the material underneath the presser foot, right? We've got to be given enough room to stretch its arms out in a sense. Okay, so I think I have that okay. We've got this set on S1, so we're going to get the blue stitch over here on the stitch selector. And I've got my stitch width as wide as it'll go. My tension is set just below 7. I think that's pretty good. We'll give that a go. And this next stitch is really quite spectacular. I did it off camera, and I was like, wow, wow. So let's give this a try, and then I'll show you the mountain stitch, the EKG stitch, and any of the other stitches you haven't seen close up. And then we'll continue to move through some of these other specialty stitches. Okay, here we go. See the movement of the material back and forth, back and forth. That's tri-motion. That's tri-motion. Notice I'm not pulling the material. I'm not pushing the material. I'm gently steering it from the left side, and I'm allowing the feed dogs with the proper presser foot pressure to pull that material over the feed dogs and underneath the presser foot. Don't pull or push. All right, I'm going to stop right there. What a lovely stitch. Oh my goodness. This is probably one of my favorite stitches. I know I say that about a lot of the stitches. I have lots of favorite stitches, but this is really quite spectacular. And I don't know if Sridhathri is going to use any of these specialty stitches for her mother's bag. I have no idea, but hopefully she considers that. So these are the top stitching that we've done so far. Kind of show it to you like this. Can't tell. I think it's focusing. If you're not impressed, I think you should be. Really quite amazing, isn't it? Turn it over and look at the lock stitching. I know, I know. Pretty wow, isn't it? Pretty wow. Really quite impressive. It's no wonder that folks will, even if they're a vintage purist, even if they're a vintage purist, like Robin. Robin, I would describe as a vintage purist, but she still recognizes the value of what technology can bring through some of these more contemporary machines, right? She still recognizes the value of that, and so she does own a newer machine for this very reason, so you can enjoy some of the really cool stitches that the machine is able to do. Let's see. I think I'll do this one next, just to the left. It's kind of almost looks like kind of a tree or a branch type stitch. We'll see what you think of it. I'll do a couple more stitches, kind of fill up our material. Looks like I may be able to get 1, 2, maybe 3 more stitches on here. And then some of the other stitches I don't get to, we'll try to maybe incorporate those into some of the other stitch offs that we might do during this live stream. Okay? All right, so I'm going to do this next one. Checking all my settings, making sure my take-up arm is all the way up. And here we go. I think you'll like this one as well. This one really is aggressive in actuating that tri-motion function. See how aggressively it's moving that material. All right, we're going to stop right there. Oh yeah, that's a really beautiful one too. Quite amazing. Let's do a couple more and then we can look at all of these together and have a chance to really celebrate the greatness of what I restored in repairing this 4423. All right, let's go to another one. I got to bring my needle up a little bit. And if any of our friends over at Schmetz are watching right now, as you often do, Schmetz Needles does follow us on YouTube and Facebook. All I can say is that I really appreciate the quality of your needles. I really appreciate the quality and the attention to detail in how you engineer your needles. If Sridhathri had been using a Schmetz needle, it's possible that she and I would never have met, because I'm fairly sure even if she was pulling or pushing that material, going over one of those real thick seams on the bag for her mom, and that caused that needle to break, I think a Schmetz needle maybe would have been able to get through that endurance test without breaking. But the new Singer needles, I'll just say it, and if Singer doesn't like this, I'm sorry, but they're junk. The new Singer needles, the brand new ones out there, compared to the original Singer needles, they're horrible, horrible quality. They're manufactured from a very cheap alloy, not a really strong forged type steel like the Schmetz needles, and the result is they do break a lot more frequently, even under regular use. Okay, let me get us to another cool stitch. Hold on a second. I think we'll do a tic-tac. I'm going to call this a tic-tac-toe stitch, but it only has the X's. This is a really neat stitch as well. Let's see, and I think I'll put on a little bit more music that has a Vietnam feeling to it. Yes, it's the same song. They only had one. All right, here we go. lock stitching. Beautiful stitching. So that's our lock stitching again. You can look at the totality of all the stitch columns that we've already done, along with the top stitching as well. Absolutely breathtaking. And I must admit that if I had a desire to purchase one of these newer Singer heavy duty machines, I would probably lean towards this model, just because I really love the beauty and the character and the class that comes with some of these ornamental stitches. And some of them are on the 4411, some of them are not. So if you love the fancy stitches, and you're thinking about, hey, you know what, Robin bought one, Scott talked about he might even consider getting one, lean towards this model, I think, just so you can get those added spectacular stitches that are really they're just amazing. They're utterly amazing. I think we could do maybe 2 more stitches, possibly. We can sneak out 2 more stitches. I'll see. Adjust this. I think we'll do this one. This is really a neat one. It's going to be similar to the other one, but a little bit different. So we'll try this. We'll see if we have enough room still on the right side to possibly do. Trying to adjust the camera a little bit here. See if we have enough room to still do another stitch after this, but we might be out of space because this is a fairly wide stitch too. Okay, let's give this a go and see what you think of this one. And I'm going kind of slow and conservative on this machine, but if you didn't know it, this machine, especially this upgraded 4423 with the 0.9 amp motor, even though on the back it says 0.7, it's 0.9, you saw it in the pictures. This thing can push around 1100 stitches per minute. Yeah, I mean, if you're just blasting. But most of us don't need to put out 1100 stitches per minute, do we? All right, we're going to stop right there. I'll call this, the last one I just did, kind of a catacomb type stitch. Kind of feels that way. You might have a totally different name for it. And it looks like we do have room to maybe sneak 1 more stitch in there. And if this were a live stream, I would show you all the stitches and let you pick the final stitch to go down on this 100% cotton with this real thin stiffener that I have in there to give it a little bit more stability. But this is a pre-recorded premiere, so unfortunately I can't offer that option to you. So I'm going to look at the stitches and try to pick one that is kind of cool and see if hopefully you enjoy that. I hope. Let's see here what I have. Why don't we do a straight stretch stitch? I call it the pearlized stitch. See if we can lay that down. It's in our first selection right here that's adjacent to the straight stitch. And I'll bring that down just a little bit. There we go. You can see it's going to be located right there. And again, to access it, you need to set it on S1 instead of setting it somewhere between 1 and 4. All right, let's try this last stitch. It will have really no needle swing other than manipulation of the feed dogs, so we should be able to tuck it into this tiny little space here very nicely, I'm hoping. Okay, I'm just going to check my settings. That looks good. I think I'll bring it down on stitch width a little bit to about 4.5. Yeah, I'll bring it to 5. I want to give it enough room to work. All right, here we go. All right, we'll stop right there. Lovely pearlized straight stitch. It's technically called a straight stretch stitch, if my memory serves me correctly. I call it kind of a pearlized stitch just because it has that depth and that meatiness. It has kind of a meatiness to it that I really kind of enjoy that. So we'll look at that over here. I'll show you these last ones that we just did if you didn't have a chance to possibly see them yet. Come out a little bit like this. I love that tic-tac-toe one that's just like 3 from the end. Really quite cool, along with that kind of a bird foot one almost, isn't it? Kind of neat. We got so many columns, so many rows, if you will. I've got to do it in little groupings almost, don't I? Do a little groupings so you can see all of those stitches that we've done during this live stream. Totality, I got to come way, 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 way over to here so you can see all of them at the same time. Turn it over, look at that lock stitching. We'll kind of bring it in a little bit. You can get a closer look. Some of these you've already seen, but if you joined us a little bit late, you may be seeing them for the first time. And again, we're sewing with one of these Singer heavy duty machines. This is the model 4423. That belongs to Sridhathri, who, as we are viewing this as a pre-recorded premiere, she is in the air or already in India, excitedly waiting to present the bag that she made on this 4423 after I quickly repaired it for her because she was leaving within just a matter of days when it broke. And she's going to present that beautiful bag that she made to her mother over in India, and certainly impress the other family members as well, I'm sure. So this again is our lock stitching. I'll bring it way back so you can see all of it. All I can say is page 34 plus. Don't you agree? Top stitching, page 34 plus. And I know that Candido and Rachel out in New York have a machine that's very similar to this. And they absolutely love it. And they are devout vintage purists, but they still recognize, again, like Robin, myself, and others, they recognize the benefit of technology and what that means to generating wider stitches, a wider variety of stitches, and everything else. So see if I can move into some other sew-offs. I will show mercy on you and not put it, I won't play the same song again. Let me see if I can type in maybe another term to see if I can get some other music that would be indicative of Vietnam, where this machine was made, or China, where these machines are also made, or Taiwan, where these machines are also made. So give us a little bit of an Asian type flavor, if you will. See what you think of that. All right, I'm going to change the camera angle a little bit and get us closer to the needle. We've been kind of away from it. Let's get a little bit closer in now. I think we'll sew some of this fake fleece material made to look like fleece. It's made out of 100% polyester, and I'm going to try to lay down one of those tri-motion stitches on this. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll see if we can give it a go. Now with this, I've got to pause it real quick. I think otherwise it's going to go on and play the next one. Maybe not. Yay. Okay. With this fleece material, it's a little bit hard to know where to set that presser foot pressure. Again, your presser foot pressure on these Singer heavy duty machines. See if I can take the camera off the tripod real quick and just show you again so you know exactly where to look for it. Battling this cord just a little bit. Hang on a second. All right, let's come out of the shot. So this is our presser foot pressure right here. And again, if you turn it clockwise like this, it's going to increase it, which means you're going to be generally sewing on a heavier fabric or multiple layers if you increase this. And unfortunately, Singer did not put numbers on this. I wish they had. I wish they had put numbers on it instead of just a plus minus with little arrows. That's about as bad as the original Singer machines that had the stitch length screw. That was this shiny little circular thing that you would turn left or right to increase the stitch length, but there was no way of knowing where you were at with it, so you would always have to spitball a little bit. They kind of digressed here. I think they should have thrown some numbers on this and designed it maybe a little bit differently. But my point is, as we're getting ready to sew on this fake fleece material that's made out of polyester, it's fairly thick, as you can see. So when we talk about thicker, we're normally looking at increasing this, but this also has a tendency to bunch up a little bit as it's being fed, especially with two layers. So I'm thinking that we might actually decrease this just slightly for this sew off, which means I'm going to take my screwdriver and I'm going to turn this counterclockwise just a little bit like that to take away some of that pressure on the material. So let's sew this now. We'll pick out a fun tri-motion stitch to try to see if we can do that, and then we'll look at the stitch quality, see what we think of that. So we'll go right about there. I think that's pretty good. All right, turn my little screen around, and now I have to decide. I wish I could get your input, but I'll just have to look at these stitch options and then kind of decide on one. And I won't tell you what it is either, so it'll be more of a surprise when I do it, hopefully. Yeah, I think I'll do this one. This is a good one to do, I think. All right, now I'm going to leave my settings the same on stitch width is going to stay on 5. And stitch length is preset with the S1 setting. So let's try this tri-motion stitch on this tricky, made to look like fleece. It's actually 100% polyester material. And I'm hoping I was correct in adjusting the presser foot pressure as I did. All right, here we go. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Pretty decent feed dog system. You can see I'm not really steering it much at all. I'm just letting it pull it. And that means we've got good presser foot pressure as well, doesn't it? All right, I'm going to stop right there. And we'll have a chance to take a look at this tic-tac-toe stitch that I decided to use, which I think looks, from what I'm seeing initially, is absolutely, are you kidding me, amazing. Amazing stitching. I'll put on a little bit of music while we're checking this out. Yeah, the only thing I see is that if we were sewing this all day long, we'd want to bump up our upper tension to pull a little bit harder on that lock stitch. Other than that, I love it. Turn down our beautiful Asian music. So we'll look at the top stitching first, and then we'll look at the lock stitching second. Let's see if I can get it right about up here. So our top stitching. I love the depth that you get on this material. And again, I picked this up at the Dollar Tree around Christmas time in the form of a scarf that they were selling for $1.25. And I've been cutting from that scarf for quite a while, getting the material from it to do these sew-offs. I'm gonna be bummed out when I run out of it, you know what I mean? Pull this back a little bit so you can see it as well. Absolutely amazing. Wow. That's a tricky material to sew, folks. Very tricky. You see the density of it. Look at the thickness of that. See that? So that's our top stitching. We've seen that. Now we're going to flip it over and look at our lock stitching. Again, I think our lock stitching is quite good, but it could be a little bit more defined. We'll go across and see what you think. A little bit more snug, a little bit more upper tension pulling on that. But all in all, I think an excellent job on the part of this 4423 that belongs to Sridhathri. Sridhathri. I practiced saying her name several times. I hope I'm doing a fairly decent job of it. Let's look at it like this as well. This again is our lock stitching. Sridhathri. I love when you travel the world a little bit. I've had the blessing and opportunity to travel the world. And I love meeting people with unique names and hearing about how they acquired that name and the significance of that name to their family, oftentimes. May have belonged to a grandfather or grandmother or someone like that. So here's our lock stitching again, really quite good. A little bit more tension, I think, would have made it pop even more. But you can see when you look at it from the side, it really is quite excellent for the density of this material. And then our top stitching as well, which is just absolutely, are you kidding me? Crazy, crazy, crazy beautiful. Nice, really, really nice. All right, so let me move on to the next material, which I think the next thing we will do is some 100% cotton with quilt batting. 100% cotton with quilt batting, and I'm going to choose another stitch for this, and we'll see what we think of that. We'll do, looks like we have room for maybe one or two, maybe even 3 stitches, depending on how wide the stitches swing. We'll see. All right, bring my take-up arm all the way up. So let me look at our stitch options real quick, and I'll just see if I can pick another one that'll be fun to do on this one. Maybe we'll do that one, or we could even do, I think we'll do this one. This one will be kind of neat. Actually, that one would be cool too. There's so many cool ones on here, it's almost kind of hard. It's kind of hard to settle on one, you know? It kind of is hard to settle on one. I'm going back and forth here. You can see the needle moving. You're like, can you just pick one, man? Just pick one. Haha. All right, I'll try this one. We'll start on this one, and then maybe we'll lay down one or two more after this. All right, checking my settings, looks good. And again, we've now pivoted from doing some of that fleece material to cotton with quilt batting. Cotton with quilt batting, you sometimes want a little bit more presser foot pressure, right? So I'm going to, off camera, just adjust our presser foot pressure about 1 or 2 millimeters up. So it has a little bit more push down on this these 2 layers of cotton with quilt batting. And hopefully I made the right decision. All right, here we go. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. Nice and easy. Notice I'm not pushing or pulling. I'm not pushing or pulling. I'm letting the feed dogs and the presser foot do the work so that I don't flex that needle. I don't want to flex that needle and cause the needle to hit the throat plate. And I'm seeing here as well that we need to bump up that upper tension a little bit. So while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to increase that upper tension just a little bit to snug it up just a little bit more. All right. We'll lay down 1 or 2 more stitches and then we'll take a look at these. Again, we're sewing on a Singer Heavy Duty Model 4423 owned by Sridhathri. And I'm working feverishly at the filming of this to finish up the premiere recording that you're watching now as I get ready to jump in the car with Susie and head several miles from here to meet Sridhathri to return this machine to her. And after I get done with a live stream or a premiere, I go through, I do a couple of touch-up oiling on the machine, particularly the raceway, change out brand new needle, make sure everything's good to go, make sure there's a full bobbin in the machine as well, so that when she sits down to it, she can right away get to work with the tight time frame that she's working with, you know, literally need to ramp up and get ready to jump on a plane pretty quick here. All right, let's do the next row. We'll do this one. We've done this one before, but I think it's worth redoing. It's worth redoing. All right, so we'll do this one, and I've got one other in mind after this. All right, here we go. Notice the manipulation of the material with that tri-motion. And that's why presser foot pressure is so critical. Without adequate presser foot pressure, we're not going to get the proper movement of the material, and we're not going to get the proper formation of the stitch pattern. So if you're doing these tri-motion stitches on your machine, you really need to make sure you've got that presser foot pressure nailed properly so that you get the proper outcome. I think even from this distance I can give you a little pre-glimpse of the 2 stitch lines that we've already done on Sridhathri's Singer 4423. There's our top stitching. Move my big old thumb out of the way. It's our top stitching and our lock stitching as well. All right, let me get that back into place. We'll do one more stitch on this 100% cotton, 2 layers of it with this quilt batting. And then we're going to consider the deal done. Let's see what one I'll do next. Yeah, this is kind of an overlock. I think we'll do an overlock stitch on this next. I'm going to keep my stitch width right around 5.5. So we're just a little bit shy of the maximum. I'm just going to double check. Settings look good. Got another one that I was tempted to do as well, but we haven't done the overlock yet, so we're going to do that one next. And if we somehow have a little bit extra room, we might lay down one last stitch column on this 100% cottonwood quilt batting. All right. And I'm looking at the style of the stitch. It's going to be a little bit wider, so this may fill up our space. We may not be able to sneak another one in there. All right. When I'm doing this, you've had a chance to hear this machine run. It's just running beautifully now. We'll put on a little bit more music for you to enjoy. This one is called Eastminster. Eastminster. Most of us heard Westminster. This is Eastminster. All right, here we go. Yeah, very, very nice. I think we have room for one more. I'll see if I can sneak one more in there. And it won't be able to be too wide because we don't have much space to work with, but I'll give you a glimpse of this overlock stitch as well, which is really quite spectacular. And it's quite a popular stitch too, isn't it? Very, very nice. All right, let's lay down this final stitch on the 100% cotton with quilt batting. And then we will have sewn all the cotton we're going to sew during this premiere. All the cotton that we're going to sew. Yeah, I think we'll try this one. I'm going to call this the arrowhead stitch. And you may have a totally different name for it, and that's okay. We're going to call it an arrowhead stitch. And I'm going to reduce the width just slightly because we don't have a lot of space to work with. You know what I mean? It's getting a little bit closer on this one. Let's see if I can adjust the camera just slightly. There we go. Get you nice and close to the action here. All right, this is our arrowhead stitch. Let's see how you like this. Here we go. Well, that's really wide. I hope I can fit it. All right, we're going to stop right there. That was a tight one. That was really tight. Well, maybe not as tight as I thought. It looked tighter when it was sewing. But we had enough room to sneak that one in. All right, let me give you a closer look at these now that we are done stitching on this 100% cottonwood quilt batting, and we'll see what you think of these. I may have to come back with the camera just a little bit to allow it to focus. And again, we are sewing with a 9014 universal Schmetz needle. We are not sewing with an embroidery needle like we were on the other machine. And so the clarity and the definition of the stitch could potentially be even greater if we were to use a more specialized needle that would allow us to do some of this ornamental stitching. But I think it's spectacular, don't you? Let's look at it like this as well. Amazing. Let's turn it over, look at the lock stitching. Let's see if I can spin it around like this. Is there a lock stitching? And again, on that very top row, that's where I was saying I think we could have benefited from a little bit more upper tension to tighten that up a little bit more. We've got a little bit of a looseness that we could easily resolve by just bumping our upper tension up. But again, always do it in small increments so that you don't take away from the top stitch. But quite a lovely stitch series in these 4 columns or 4 rows. Yeah, 100% cotton, 2 layers with quilt batting. Really quite lovely. Imagine this being incorporated into a quilt that you're working on. You could really make a lovely piece out of it. Okay, I'm going to add that to our stack. Kind of keeping an eye on our bobbin as well, make sure that we don't run out of bobbin thread. But I've got that other one wound already, so I think we'd be okay. So let's move into some of this this upholstery material now. I'm going to stop our music just for a moment. That again was Eastminster. If you've never heard that song before, that's the East version of probably the Western version of the Westminster song. So we've got this mustard colored upholstery material. It's commercial grade, it's super heavy duty, and the composition of it is 55% recycled nylon, 45% polyester. If you know anything about anything, that is a wicked combination to try to sew because it really has a tendency to foster skip stitching and also stitch pattern degradation, where you lose that clarity of that pattern. We're going to try 2 layers of it, nothing earth-shattering, but still I think it's a nice challenge on a more contemporary machine like this that a lot of people say, can you really sew leather with a machine like this? The answer is yes. Can you sew upholstery material? Yes. Can you sew vinyl material? Yes. But again, take into account your setup. Make sure you have the right needle, that you've got a fresh needle, that you're using thread that's compatible with that needle as well. And always that you're allowing the machine to manage that sewing, not that you're pulling or pushing against that material and stressing the machine, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. So we'll try a zigzag on this first. I'm going to go all the way back to square one. I'll come out on the shot a little bit, see if, wrong way. Come out on the shot a little bit, see if we can look at this together. So as we're looking at the machine together, if I want to go back to basic utility stitching, straight stitching, zigzagging, that sort of thing, I've got to first of all deal with the stitch length, which is on S1 right now. For that specialty stitching, I've got to adjust this back in the range of what I'm looking to do. So I'm going to look to do probably between a 2.5 to a 3 on the stitch length, so I can balance it with a stitch width. That's going to give me something similar to that, probably a little bit wider, right around 4.5. So 4.5 and 3. I got 4.5 on the stitch width, 3 on the stitch length, and then I've got this set now, or I will shortly, to a zigzag pattern. Okay, so let's zoom back in and we'll watch a zigzag getting laid down on this mustard commercial upholstery material. And we're still zooming. It's kind of fun to go slow, isn't it? Yeah. There we go. That's pretty good, I think. So we'll try a zigzag going down this first of all. And because we're going with a relatively wide zigzag, remember that you have to control your speed too, because as that hook is coming around to grab the thread, if you're sewing a straight stitch, it's got a fixed position to grab that thread in. If that needle is zigzagging, it's got to catch that thread on the move, if you will. So even if you have spot on hook timing, if you try sewing a really wide stitch too fast, you're very likely to have some skip stitching. So I'm going to try to slow it down. We've worked this needle pretty hard already. I'm hoping that we don't have any issues, but if we do, I'll put in a new needle. So we'll try a zigzag first of all, and then we'll decide what we're going to lay down on this upholstery material next to it. All right, here we go. There we go. I kind of took it easy, didn't rush it. Again, we've got a machine here that is powered by a 0.9 amp motor. We could easily blast this thing down fast and furious. This machine is said to have a maximum stitch range in a minute of about 1,100 stitches. That is flying. And doing a little bit of off-camera sewing on this machine, I believe that they're probably pretty much spot on. I think that this machine can absolutely blast from a stitch speed standpoint and stitch number. All right, so what do I lay down next to it now? I've got a number of choices. Maybe I'll lay down that ribbon stitch. Remember that ribbon stitch we did before? That might be a fun one to lay down on this upholstery material. But I'm going to make an adjustment to the stitch length. Right now my stitch length is right around 3. I want to make it a lot shorter to really tighten up the pattern of that ribbon style stitch, as I call it. I'm also going to make it a little bit more narrow. So I'm going to take it from about 4.5 down to about 3. Hopefully my proportions are okay to display this stitch pattern in an attractive way. Otherwise, you'll learn from my from my mistake, right? That's okay. Sometimes a teacher, always a what? Type it in the live chat. Sometimes a teacher, always a what? All right, here we go. We're going to try that ribbon pattern now, which is not requiring the S1. If we put it on the S1, we'll get a totally different stitch. So we'll try this one and see what we think. All right, here we go. I'm going to see how it's presenting. I might make a midstream adjustment. Yeah, we'll leave it alone. I don't quite like it as much as the first one, but we'll leave it the way it is. All right, I'm going to stop right there. And we'll be able to take a look at that in just a minute or so. I'm going to do one more stitch line on this upholstery material. And then we'll pivot to some other material to show the versatility for potential sewing projects of this model 4423 that belongs to Sridhathri. Who, as we are showing this premiere that was pre-recorded, is either in flight to India or is in India getting ready to show the beautiful bag that she made on this machine after I quickly repaired it for her because of the machine running into an issue. All right, what else do I have that I can show on this one? See if there's any other ones that are kind of cool. We could do the building block one. I'm going to make a couple of adjustments. If we do the building block one, come back out again. We do the building block one. I'm going to make an adjustment. Let's see here. We'll make the stitch length just well, let me look at this. We'll make it a little bit wider. We're going to go from 3 to 4. Stitch length. Do I want this as tight as can be? Pretty much. I'm going to leave that alone. So stitch width, we're on 4. Stitch length, we're on 1. And we're going to be trying to do this. It's kind of a building block type pattern. You might call it something different, but we'll see how we can do on this. This will be our final stitch on this upholstery, this commercial upholstery material. And we've got about 2 layers of it. And again, this is not the max for this 44-23. We could go a lot thicker, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to demonstrate the greatness of the machine after being repaired, and also just to celebrate the machine and its versatility. I mean, you've got a machine that can sew this many stitches, like a hiccup and more. I mean, that really is one of the bragging points of having a machine like this, along with the fact that it is a fairly strong machine with that 0.9 amp motor that was made in Vietnam. And with Vietnam, I'll put on a little bit more Asian drum music for you. All right, let's do this last stitch line. Commercial upholstery material, 2 layers, and we're going to be laying down a building block style stitch. Here we go. We are getting low on that bobbin. We are getting very low on that bobbin. All right, let's look at this stitching on this commercial upholstery material. 2 layers of it, and then we'll move on to some other material. And again, when I'm recording these premieres on the camera that I have, I'm limited to about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm limited to about 2 hours and 45 minutes, so I really need to watch my time carefully so I don't time out. A little bit hard to see that. I'm going to see how close I can get without the camera going crazy. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Very, very nice. Very nice. Let's turn it over and look at the other side. This is our lock stitching. We really have gotten really we've gotten a really good balance with that upper tension going through a wide field of materials already. And we're not done yet. Lovely, lovely stitching. So that's our lock stitching again on this commercial upholstery material. This is our top stitching. Absolutely page 34 plus. Beautiful, beautiful stitching. Zoom back in again. So I might add that to our stack. So far we've gone through upholstery material. We've gone through different types of cotton with quilt batting, with stiffener. We've gone through material that looks like fleece, but it's actually polyester. So we've already put this machine to quite a test, and we're not done yet. We're going to test this machine a little bit more. All right. Let's see, I've got some vinyl. Vinyl is always kind of a knee knocker, chew your fingernails off type of thing. I think we'll slide over to some denim. Let's slide over to some denim. And when I move to denim, I'm going to right away think about presser foot pressure. I come out on the shot. Right away, I'm going to think about presser foot pressure when it comes to a denim material. So I'm going to come over to our presser foot adjuster right over here on top of the needle and presser foot bar area, just adjacent to the face plate, not nose plate. Haha, yeah. And I'm going to bump this up just a little bit, turning it clockwise about 2 or 3 millimeters, because we're going to be going through denim now, and denim requires a little bit more pressure to push down, doesn't it? Let's zoom back in. There we go. That's a pretty good shot, I think. And I think we're going to go for 4 layers of this. We could certainly go higher. This machine could certainly handle it, but I think we're going to stick with 4 for right now, because we're going to be doing some fancy stitching as well. And 4 layers of denim, if you look at it from the side, maybe you can see it if I come back a little bit further. There we go. That's not a light sew-off. So we're going to try 4 layers of denim, and we'll see if we can pull this off. That's maybe a little bit thick for some of these stitches, so I'm going to stick with more simplified stitches, I think, that don't require quite as much needle swing. Let's see what choices I have. You can always pull off a blind hem stitch. I think we'll look at a blind hem maybe. I'm going to double check. Why don't we do a stretch blind hem? I think we'll do a stretch blind hem going down these 4 layers of denim. And then we'll look at finding another stitch to lay down next to that. And again, I'm going to keep my rate down a little bit just to account for that needle having to sweep down with movement, catch that hook, and work at pulling that thread back up through the material to complete that lock stitch. Give it a little bit more time. We'll keep it a little bit more at a lower rate of speed. Okay? All right, here we go. Notice I'm not pushing, I'm not pulling the material, I'm just gently steering it, very, very gently steering it, using one finger. And again, this is 4 layers of denim, 4 layers of denim. Slow it down a little bit as we're getting to the end. All right, we're going to stop right there. See how we did on the lock stitch. Looks really good. So we're maintaining a real good balance right now with this model 4423. Some really good balance as far as tension. we're getting really low on that bobbin. You probably can't see it in the shot, but it's getting down there. I need to keep an eye on that. Although I'm going to put a fresh bobbin in anyway, so not a big deal. Not a major deal. All right, so we've got 4 layers of denim. I'm going to line it up again for another run. Get that down there. I think we've got decent presser foot pressure. I'm going to leave that the way it is. And now I'm going to look at these stitches, see what some of the other stitch options we have are. We could always do an eyebrow stitch. Maybe we'll do an eyebrow stitch next on these 4 layers of heavy grade denim. Get my take-up arm all the way up, and we'll do this stitch. And then I'm going to stop on the denim after this. That will give us 2 columns to look at. That's enough. And then we'll move to some of these other materials. I'm trying to be mindful of our time because of being limited by how long I can record on this particular camera. I've got the biggest SD card that I can take, and I'm limited to about 2 hours and 45 minutes. All right, here we go. An eyebrow stitch on, and I'm going to increase our width. I was at 4, I'm going to bump it up to about 5 on these 4 layers of denim. Here we go. Trying to keep it just steady. I don't need to go super fast. right. And we've done a lot of stitching on this 4423 that belongs to Sridhathri, who is probably in India right now with the project that she completed on this machine after I repaired it. And eventually we'll have a chance to hopefully watch this this premiere and celebrate this great machine. One of the things I've talked about it before, and I'm going to get even a little bit closer just for a moment, as you're sewing with one of these machines, because the design of the raceway is such that it allows the bobbin case to float on top of the hook system, periodically you want to put just a tiny little bit of oil on the area that that hook is going to be coming in contact with that bobbin case. Just a tiny little bit, so that's what I'm going to do right now. Just to keep it floating on there very nicely. Not heavy, just tiny little drops. And this is what I use. It's a needle syringe type thing. You can see that. It allows you to really control the amount of oil in a targeted area. And when you're doing this much sewing, decorative sewing in particular, you want that bobbin case to be moving smoothly over the hook. You don't want it to be catching or creating any drag. So let's look at the stitching now. 4 layers of denim. Come out on the shot a little bit. 4 layers of denim with, I think, some really cool stitching. We got a blind hem stretch. We've got another eyebrow type stitch as well. Get a little bit closer. Quite spectacular, quite spectacular. Yeah, the 4423 really has impressed me. It's got more than enough power. Got a beautiful selection of stitches. It's got a rate of speed for sewing that's absolutely crazy, off the charts. 1,100 stitches per minute is flying. And look at the clarity of stitch. It's absolutely page 34 plus. So that's our top stitching we just saw. We're going to turn it around now, look at the lock stitching. We'll look at it like this first, and then we'll go sideways with it. And again, we've maintained some beautiful tension balance. The upper tension unit and the bobbin case are becoming fast friends, aren't they? They're becoming fast friends and cooperating to create a beautiful, beautiful stitch together. They can't do it alone. They got to work together to have success, don't they? Amazing, amazing. So far on this 4423, we have had the opportunity, I'll come out a little bit further. So far we've had a chance to go through a fairly wide field of sew-offs. We've gone through denim, we just did that. We've gone through commercial upholstery material, this mustard stuff. We've gone through 2 layers of cotton with quilt batting, this kind of a cranberry color. We've gone through a fake fleece made out of polyester, this gray material. And then we've gone through this long line, this long line of utility and ornamental stitches on 100% cotton with a super light stiffener. And laid down absolutely page 34 plus stitching on this contemporary Singer heavy duty model 4423 that belongs to Sridhathri. Sridhathri. I gotta say it faster. Sridhathri. Yeah. Sridhathri. Beautiful name. Let's zoom back in and move to our next sew off. And before that, we'll listen to a little bit of The Voyage while I wet my whistle. And if you joined us a little bit late and you're saying, why is Scott playing Asian music? It's because this machine was made in Vietnam. And there are other similar machines in the same heavy-duty class that are being made in Taiwan and China. So that's why we have an Asian music theme right now. Yeah. All right, I'm going to move us now over to... Come out on the shot. I'm going to move us over to the specialty stitches now. I probably went the wrong way. I did. We're going to go over to the specialty stitches now, which means we're setting it on S1. And we're going to be, when we go to S1, we're going to be doing a lot of tri-motion stitches, which means we want to have a lot of room for those feed dogs to move. So I'm bumping up our stitch width all the way to 6. Let's see what we're going to lay down next and what we're going to lay it down on. Dare I try this vinyl? Dare I try this vinyl? I'm going to pause this just for a second. I was taken to task in the last live stream by a well-intentioned fellow student and fellow teacher that you can't sew vinyl unless you use a Teflon foot. And I believe that was Ray, correct? I think that was Ray that was kind of taking me to task and reminding me that I was doing it wrong. Kind of like the movie Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton, if anyone's ever seen that. He loses his job because of a layoff, and he becomes a mom while his wife goes back to work to be an executive. And as he's taking the kids to the school for the first time, he pulls into the lineup of other parents, but he's coming in the wrong way. And one of his wife's friends walks up to the car. It's raining, it's awful outside, comes up to the car, and she says to him, "You're doing it wrong." And he, you know, he's a man. He defends himself in front of his kids by saying, "No, I'm doing it my way." So, but he was doing it wrong, yeah. But I did sew on vinyl in the last live stream on the 4411, the little brother to this 4423, and I was successful. So we're going to try it again on this 4423. See if we can lay down some cool stitching on these 2 layers of vinyl. See if we can lay down some cool stitching on these 2 layers of vinyl. Kind of a bulky material to get it underneath that presser foot and over the top of those feed dogs. It kind of grabs those feed dogs a little bit, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is, taking into account that it's vinyl and it needs to slide, but it needs presser foot pressure at the same time, I'm going to make a soft adjustment on the presser foot pressure up here, and I'm going to back it off just a little bit. Just a little bit. I turned it maybe about 2 millimeters. About 2 millimeters. Let's zoom in and see if we can lay down some fun stitching on these 2 layers of vinyl without the benefit of what our friend Ray feels is absolutely critical, essential. Don't ever sew vinyl without it, and that is a Teflon foot. So we're going to see if we can hopefully pull it off in spite of not having a Teflon foot. And I think we'll lay down, trying to see what this stitch is. It's kind of a bird foot stitch. We'll see if we can lay down a bird foot stitch on these 2 layers of vinyl, and hopefully we have success, right? Hopefully we have success. All right, I'm going to check my settings again real quick. I've adjusted the presser foot pressure to allow a little bit more glide. My tension should be okay the way it is. Our width is wide. And actually, since we're going to be going with the bird foot stitch, I'm going to move us from 6 to 5 on the stitch width. I'm going to bump down the stitch width just a little bit. I have no control over stitch length. When you go to these specialty stitches under the S1 category on this machine, the machine decides what the stitch length is because it has to manipulate it in the tri-motion. And so it's got to override and decide how to manage that movement as far as length. So we got to have faith in the machine at this point, and we'll see how we do on this vinyl. This is kind of a tricky stitch to try, but I'm willing to give it a go. All right, here we go. I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Give that hook a little bit more time. If you're joining us a little bit late, we are sewing with a Schmetz 9014 universal needle. Schmetz 9014 universal needle. And Coates & Clark dual duty XP thread. All right, I'm going to stop right there. If you weren't in the beginning part of the live stream, the premiere, if you weren't in the beginning part of the premiere, then you missed me talking about this other thread that was with this machine when it came to the workshop. It's offered almost exclusively through Hobby Lobby. It's called Sewology, and I saw some reviews on it that were not so favorable. But again, if you haven't had a chance to voice your opinion or share your knowledge on this thread that seems to be offered through Hobby Lobby called Sewology, and then it's marked on the spool as being made in Europe. It's being made in Europe. I think that's supposed to impress us. But if you have an opinion on this Sewology thread, type it in the live chat. Or if you have any opinion on the other products by Sewology, apparently they offer a wide line of novelties and notions and stuff like that. By all means, speak up to that as well. I don't know anything about this company other than Hobby Lobby got rid of Coates & Clark thread to give them free reign and exclusivity in their stores. So I don't know, maybe some money was exchanged or somebody got season tickets to their favorite football game. I don't know what happened, but they dumped, Hobby Lobby dumped Coates & Clark to have Sewology in their stores exclusively. So I don't know, that usually means somebody got a little something, you know what I mean? Somebody got a little something out of that deal, I would guess. All right, I'm going to do one more stitch line and then we'll look at this and see what you think. Okay? See if I can get that back into place. We'll lay down one more stitch line. And again, I just did a tri-motion stitch on this nylon without the benefit of a Teflon foot. And I can already see that we've got page 34 plus stitching. And this is a very complex stitch, if you don't know that. It's very complex. So I think this machine, along with the work that I poured into it, just did a brilliant job, an absolutely brilliant job. All right, I'm going to do another stitch on the specialty stitches that I didn't do yet, and I'm hoping that we have success with it. I'm going to give it a little bit more space to work with. About 5 I think is good. And this is going to be like a mountain stitch, but it's going to be heavily, have heavy overlay of the threads. In other words, it's going to stitch over the same spot about 4 times to give a little bit more depth to that stitch appearance. You'll see what I mean once we do it. And I'm not going to make any other adjustments to the machine right now. We're just going to run down with it and hopefully we have success, as much success as we had with this one. All right, let's give this a go. We'll see how we do. I'm a little bit nervous. This is a tricky stitch. It's a tricky stitch to do. All right, here we go. Take this nice and slow. And again, this machine is powered by a 0.9 amp motor, even though on the outside it says 0.7. It's powered by a 0.9 amp motor. And if you're curious about the foot controller, it is electronic, and it's rated, I believe, for 1.4 amps. And I just recently got a question. From our friend out in Vermont, Aaron Allen, about, remind me, Scott, is it the motor should be higher or the foot controller should be higher? The answer is you always want to have a foot controller that's rated higher in amperage tolerance than the motor, because it's the gateway to the motor. And you've got to have a big enough gateway to allow that electricity to flow in. So you always want to have your foot controller rated higher than your motor. So with this being a 0.9 amp motor, a foot controller that's around 1.4 amps is exactly as it should be. Exactly as it should be. Well, all I can say is, wow. Take a look at these, and I think you'll agree with me that this is definitely a wow. Again, no Teflon foot, simply laying down the workshop magic through this 4423. I don't know how we can make that better. That is absolutely as it should be. Wow. Let's turn it over, look at that lock stitch. Equally amazing. Absolutely gorgeous. A little bit more tension, I think, could really bring it to the next level. But we're clearly at a page 34. If not almost at a page 34 plus. But the top stitch is definitely at a page 34 plus. Yeah, a little bit more tension, I think, if we were sewing vinyl all day long, we would bump up that upper tension just a wee little bit, so that especially that overlay stitch on the bottom would have just a little bit more snugness to it. But that's our top stitching. Again, 2 layers of vinyl, no Teflon foot. Amazing. Amazing. Workshop magic is amazing, isn't it? Isn't it great to see a machine that was crippled and was basically dead in the water, and this lovely lady that is probably back in India right now celebrating this project that she made on this machine for her mom, was able to get that project done. So far, this is what we've done on this premiere. We've done all of this. Come out a little bit. We've done all of this. We just did 2 layers of vinyl. We did 4 layers of heavy grade denim. We did 2 layers of commercial upholstery material, that mustard stuff. We did 100% cottonwood quilt batting, all kinds of tri-motion complex stitches on that, and just blew it out of the water. We did this fake fleece material that's 100% polyester, laid down some gorgeous stitching on that as well. You can rewind after the live stream and look at that. And then we've laid down all of these utility ornamental stitches that this 4423 can do. And this isn't even all of them. That's not even all of them. And there's a lock stitching as well. Absolutely off the charts. We could stop right now, and I would have faith and confidence that our friend Sridhathri would be able to get her bag done and jump on that plane to go to India to celebrate the greatness of this 4423 that Cow Country brought back to life for her in the final hours before she's packing up and getting ready to jump on the plane and head to see her mom and family in India. But we're going to go a little bit further. We're going to go just a little bit further. A little bit closer to the needle. And yes, our bobbin thread is dangerously low, but that's okay. So the one thing we haven't tried sewing on is leather. We haven't tried sewing on any leather. I'm going to save that just for now, because a couple more sew-offs I want to do before we try that little dance. I think what we'll dance with right now is some of this satin material. We've got some of this satin with a real light stiffener in between. Some of this satin material. This is some of the extra satin that Emma sent when she shipped that Singer 328, I believe it is, for her friend Jane from the great state of Florida. So now we're going to try a little bit of satin sewing, but we got to make some adjustments, don't we? If I widen the shot again, which I should have just left it wide, we widen the shot again, we got to make an adjustment on presser foot pressure, don't we? We got to turn it down so that we don't get that puckering and bunching on the material on the back. So I got to turn this even a little bit further down than we had it already, counterclockwise, to try to reduce that presser foot pressure for this satin material. I turned it probably almost 4 millimeters, right about to there. But I don't want to go crazy far because we've got to still be able to move that material evenly, don't we? Still got to move that material evenly. All right, let's get that in right about there. I think it's pretty good. Just going to adjust it just a little bit. There we go. I think that gives you a pretty good shot of the action down at the needle. Come out just a little bit wider. So I've adjusted the presser foot pressure. Now I have to decide what kind of stitch am I going to try to lay down on this satin material. I'm going to try to go with a pretty complex tri-motion stitch. So off camera I'm adjusting to that catacomb style stitch and see if we can pull that off. I'll be the first one to tell you I'm a little bit nervous, but I think we can do it. So let's lay this down on the satin, and then we might lay down one more stitch on the satin, and then we'll consider the deal done. Making sure I don't have any text messages from the customers. And let's give this satin a go. And hopefully I have that presser foot pressure set in a good spot. All right, here we go. And I'm going to keep it pretty slow because we're dealing with some real delicate satin material here. Getting a little bit of bunching right there. You can see it just in front of the presser foot, which means maybe I didn't adjust it far enough. I'm going to bring my needle down manually. Raise that presser foot just for a second. See if I can kind of push that down a little bit. Now we'll resume sewing. Still a little bit of bunching. I'm going to keep going. Keep going. All right, I'm going to stop right there. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow. Wait until you see this. I'm just curious about the lock stitch on the back, if we had enough tension. And it appears that we did. We nailed that as well. Like I said, I'm very impressed with this model 4423. Not that I didn't think the 4411 was a great machine. It certainly is. But I think that Singer really did thoughtfully engineer some improvements into this machine that make it that much greater and that much more versatile. All right, so one more stitch going down on this very delicate satin. We've got a lovely, lovely catacomb stitch here right now. You probably can't see it in the camera shot. See if I can adjust it real quick. Oops, and we are getting to a point of running out of room. We only have about 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left. So I'm not even going to do this. I'm going to zip down with one other stitch, and then we're going to wrap up this live stream. Unfortunately, I've run out of time. What else can I lay down? Quick decision, Scott. Another cool stitch. Let's see here. Why don't we do this one? We'll do this one next. And I'm just going to jump right into it because we are just about out of time. All right, here we go. And a little bit more, let's see here, a little bit more Japanese style music. And I want to thank Sridhathri for the opportunity of getting this machine back online so she could finish that project for her mom. All right, here we go. We're down to about 2 minutes. We're almost out of time. That's the benefit of doing live streams. You get more time, right? We have so much to cover. So much to cover. All right, quickly. I'm going to try to bring this out so we can take a look at this stitching before we run out of time. And I want to thank the leaders for taking care of the family. I want to thank everybody that was at the premiere. This was pre-recorded again, and I know you all are busy on Saturday, so I'm very grateful for you taking time out of your valuable schedule. We got about 3 minutes. We come out on this. This is satin, folks, and it is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. Look at that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Wow. Turn it over. Let's look at that lock stitching. Equally spectacular. And I want to thank Robin again for the wonderful treats that she shared when we had a chance to meet face to face. And yes, I will share. I promise to share. So lovely stitching on this satin material as well. I could have backed off that presser foot pressure just a little bit more because we do have some puckering. So I should have turned it a little bit more counterclockwise. So I want to thank everybody because we are out of time now. We're out of time, and what a great machine really truly is. And I'm looking in the wrong spot. I'm looking at the screen instead of the camera. So now I'm looking at the camera. So I want to thank everybody again. Watch for the next live stream and or premiere. I'm going to be jumping on another machine right away, and then we'll wrap this up. We're down to 1 minute. So I'm going to focus on the machine and stop talking and put all these sew-offs there. Satin, lots of cotton, vinyl, denim, 100% polyester to make it look like fleece, upholstery material, and cotton with quilt batting. God bless everybody. Ha ha!